Hello, I'm here to talk to you about the second project that you'll be working on in our initial 2 week period, and that is how to create a visual argument. You're surrounded by visual arguments all the time, and I think that it's important for you to begin this second week, in project one, by reading the text that I have posted there. It's written by us. We're pretty good at what we do. The first chapter is called Stop in the Name of Rhetoric, and that's by Mr. Satterwhite, who some of you may have worked with in 1101. And then the second section is by me, and it's called Why Does Rhetoric Matter? And Rhetorical DNA. And there's a third section, Rhetoric and Democracy, which we're not going to read until later. But what it does is explains to you what rhetoric is, which is simply how do you, how do I, how do we put information together? How do we design it so that other people can understand it and so that it can have an effect on other people? It might be to persuade them, but it also might be to make them feel good, or it might be to challenge them or teach them. So rhetoric is always, it's how we think. It's a function of our intelligence. It's how we design things. It comes along with the package. You're using it all the time. It's just that in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to isolate different types of rhetoric so that you can look at it and pull it apart and understand how it works. That's important because not only are you using it every time you try to communicate something to someone, but it's being used against you. And I mean that word against, specifically here, initially, because ads are a wonderful example, because there are always situations where, people, organizations, campaigns, political campaigns, are trying to persuade us about something, teach us about something. And so you have to be able to understand how they're working so that you can then have a free mind. One of my students, I've been teaching this for a long time. This is my area. This is what I do. I present about this at conferences, and this is what I love. It's fascinating. And it's something, as you'll see in what you read this week, it's something that we began as human beings to identify in ourselves over 2,500 years ago. School, as it first developed, was based entirely on understanding how we use language, and in this case, especially this week, we're going to open up that idea of language, and not only think of it in terms of written information, which you're used to. I mean, you're used to looking at it like this, Let me cover the photo. You're used to thinking of that, or my speech right now, but this is language too. I'm a visual person, and I'm working on my dissertation, which is about women veterans, and so that's something that I created, to tell a particular story about the topics that I'm dealing with in my own work, so I want you to open up your idea of language and understand that language is also performed. It's written, it's visual, it's performed. We're looking at Beyonce this week, right? And so she's on a tour right now, with her new creation, where she's telling the story of her husband's infidelity, and she's very angry about that. And so she opened up a concert. I just read the other day. She opened up a concert couple days ago, asking all the women to give a finger salute. We know what that means, and it's performed, and you don't need to say a single word. You know exactly what that means. So understand that language has many channels. There are many types of language. There are many layers to it. And so this week, what you're going to be doing after you finish the Beyonce and the Weekender, and we finish off project one with a visual text, and let me just show you an example. This is one that my students made. Put it up closely so that you can see it. And the argument here, the persuasion here, the lesson was about, let me get it, center it so you can see, it was about, the American dream and aspects of the American dream. And there was an argument attached to this. What are the parts of the American dream uh, that are still important to us? What do we want? What do we hope for? And in a way, it's a very positive text. But texts don't have to be that way. You can deliver a very hard hitting argument. And this week, in the beginning well, next week, at the beginning of the visual argument sequence, which is the second week of Project One, I have a PowerPoint presentation in there that shows you the various texts that people have made, for this assignment over the years. And you'll see that, some of them are, related to what they want to do with their lives. And some of them, are related to social issues that they want to, make us aware of, emphasize. And in your opening discussion, in any rate, when you've brought up something that you're concerned about, I've said, please consider this. Please consider talking about this next week when we do the visual argument, because you could really make a dynamite mashup. And that's what this is. This is a compilation. I really don't want you to just go on the web and find, a picture of say that you're talking about, conserving the ocean, preserving the ocean, saving the ocean, cleaning the ocean, caring for the ocean. Suppose you want to do that. I don't want you to just go to the web and copy out a picture of the ocean and then post that. What I want you to do is put together an argument and look at how the different pictures relate to each other. And they don't have to all agree. You can put an enormous amount of tension, and contradiction. You can give a very complex argument, in the space of this page. And this is all I want you to do. I am going to post a little film that one of my students made, as a final project last year, on the issue of depression and paying attention to depression and how to deal with it, so that you can see how powerful a visual argument can be. The person is disguised and the person is not the voice narrating it. There is a little bit of narration, but you can see in that text how complex, you can create, how complex the argument is that you can create, in a visual, in a short visual. Now, she had 3 weeks to make it. She had 3 weeks to make it. So I don't want you to think that that's not what you're doing this time. You only have 3 days. So and that's typical for this assignment. Here's what your prompt looks like. And the top part of it gives you an example, of that particular visual that you'll be doing. This one is about why does weight matter? And the top part of the prompt tells you what to do, how to put your mashup together. Please remember that any visuals that you take from the web, anything that you take that is not in the public domain, you have to cite that, because photographers own their information, artists use their information in the same way that all of these writers do. You couldn't take anything out of here without citing it, and so you have to do exactly the same thing when you're dealing with a visual. But I don't want you to forget the second part. The second part down here tells you how to write the paper that goes along with it. And it's a short paper, but it's an important one. I will post samples of it in our class library so that you can see what the paper looks like. But the thing that you want to do with the paper is explain your own decisions in creating this text. Who is your audience? What is your argument? And explain it completely. You're doing the Beyonce essays that I've read so far are very complete, very specific, very good. And even though in the first week, I'm essentially giving you completion scores for these things, and my grading is going to start next week, I want to encourage you to be as complete and specific and thoughtful as you possibly can be. So there are, on this prompt down here, there are a list of questions that you're analyzing actually as a piece of rhetoric, your own text. What was your purpose? Who was your audience? Why did you decide on the kind of media, that you put in there? Ultimately, what is your argument? That's what it all comes down to. But I also want you to be very specific about how you created that argument, what you chose to show us and what you did not show us. So what you will do is you will create the visual. You'll create this visual text. Take a little JPEG of it and put it up on our Facebook Writer Spaces, right? And I will add all of you. Now, some of you are reluctant to join Facebook. You don't have to do so for this class. I'm not going to put you in an area where you're not comfortable. Just send your text to me and I will post it for you. What gets posted along with that text is just a little description of what is the issue and why do you care about it. All right, the more complete description of your work in that text comes in as a paper, and that'll come in as a Dropbox. I'll be the one who sees that. But what everyone else, I mean, you guys are working together so beautifully in that discussion forum. I love having both classes blended so that there are lots of people and there's lots of different kinds of responses and ideas. A teacher can't ask for anything better than that, except maybe, a grande non-fat latte delivered to my office. I'm kidding. But anyway, so this is what you're doing. I would like you to put something in there, some evidence that it's yours, whether it's, one of the examples that I've shown you has a picture of the text maker in the corner. She was doing conservation. She works with wolves. There's a picture of her with a wolf. You don't have to go and get a picture of yourself with a wolf, but a picture of some picture in there that shows us that you're connected to this topic. As always, if you have any questions at all, I am really good, as I think you've seen by now. I'm really good about answering, posting in the discussion forum. I enjoy it, and I like hearing from you. So enjoy making your text, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy seeing what it is you have to say. See you online.